How you doing, everyone? Welcome back to Braw Cast. I'm Billy Kirkwood. Thanks for tuning in. This is going to be a really amazing episode because we're getting an opportunity to talk with international downhill mountain biker Bulldog Brook Macdonald. He gives us loads of insight about how he got into mountain biking, the injuries that he's had, his plans for the future, and so much more. You're going to absolutely love it. This episode's going to look slightly different because I'm here in Scotland getting ready to put my kids to bed. He is in New Zealand just waking up and having his breakfast. So we actually recorded it over Zoom. It's going to look a little different, just to give you the heads up, but it's going to sound good. It's going to look good. Grab a drink and enjoy it wherever you are. Right, and don't forget though, help us spread the word of Braw Cast as well. Hit that share button, tag a friend that's into this type of thing, because it's not just folk that are growing the big beards, it's folk that are about the lifestyle. It's folk that are into so many different things, because we're talking to guys like Brook one week, then we're talking to actors and stars like Gavin Mitchell, and so much more. MMA fighters, comedians, we're doing them all right here on Braw Cast, and we've got some amazing episodes coming up for you. You're going to absolutely love it. Right. And also, make sure to check out everything that's going on social media, because it's the time for giving. Why not get somebody a Santa Bros? Why not grab a t-shirt? Make sure to check everything that's happening over on our social media, the website as well. And JJ's got some amazing stuff cooking up, so make sure to stay tuned. Right. Let's get in about it. This is our chat with Bulldog Brook Macdonald. All right, Billy from the past, take it away. All right, everyone, we're so excited on Braw Cast. I've got with me Brook Macdonald. Brook, this is probably one of I think the further distance interview I've done so far on Braw Cast. You're all the way over in New Zealand right now. You were saying you were just in Europe, was it 6-7 weeks ago or something? Would that be right?
Yeah. I was in Europe, about 6 weeks ago,
Oh man.
competing.
And how was it when you were competing over here? Because I imagine right even then it would have been very, very different than how your previous visits had been.
Yeah, it was very different. I actually really struggled to get my head around the whole
Yeah.
side of it, because the racing was different. Obviously, we didn't have spectators there, so
Yeah.
that's a massive thing that kind of puts I want to say, like, a small downer on the whole thing, because
Yeah.
the fans are the ones that really
They kind of
bring
drive
the
you guys on. They drive you on, give you that extra couple of pushes behind the pedals.
yeah
It's to have them
yeah for
not there
sure.
must be really weird.
Yeah, it was definitely. Obviously, when you race, you zone out, so like
Yeah.
you do hear the people, but it's just the whole fact of having them around the whole weekend, and um, yeah, it just didn't seem normal to me, and I struggled to get my head around it, just having to, have the whole masks here
Yeah.
and this there, and the main focus for me is to race my bike, and having those distractions, is definitely hard, mentally, because you've always got to leave the pits thinking, do I have my mask? Do I have this?
Oh yeah, God.
If I didn't have that, I got to turn around and go back and get it. There's a run that I've missed there, so
Oh
yeah,
jeez.
that was pretty difficult, but in all means, it was great to be racing again, and
Yeah. The the
obviously
fact that
we're
you
pretty.
were even there, you were able to race. I mean, that's a huge achievement on its own in this weird and mental world just now. But I can understand
Yeah,
you'd be missing the buzz.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, like I said, it was great to just be able to race, because obviously there's a lot of sports out there that haven't been able to compete, and
Yeah.
yeah, for us to be able to do that was huge, and um, yeah, I mean, I was pretty stoked to be back racing.
So, what is it's kind of weird to a layman or anyone that's watching for the very first time. This is their introduction to what you're doing. How would you surmise specifically what you are? Would you say you're international mountain biker, or how what exactly would be the term you would use? Because anyone that might have seen the sport casually might not be aware. They don't just want to say, rider or something like that. What would be, if you were to give yourself a moniker of what you do, how would you describe yourself?
Phew.
Sorry, I wasn't I wasn't meaning to get as deep as that, but you know what I mean. What would be for anyone that was finding you for the first time? How would you say, what is it that you do um, from day to day?
I guess probably I would just class myself as a professional downhill mountain biker.
Yeah,
Obviously, to the everyday person that would ask me, I would just say that I'm a professional athlete.
yeah,
I mean, if they want to, ask more, then they can. But just for my sport, it's different because it's not like it's a mainstream sport. So,
mhm,
you know, the people, that I tell are always like, "What is that?" Like, like
yeah.
what sort of sport is that? I've never heard it before. Compared to the likes of rugby and cricket, which are the mainstream sports in New Zealand. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I guess just a professional downhill mountain biker.
Because even though someone might say it's a niche sport and some people haven't heard of it, it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and more people are getting drawn to the sport. Do you think that's down to the sport itself just growing in popularity naturally, or the fact that it's now getting lots of coverage? I mean, obviously online, some of the TV channels are picking up, and it's become an international sport. Because, like you said, you're doing it in New Zealand, but you're also coming here to Scotland and doing it up in Fort William, which is
Yeah.
crazy to me because I don't even like going up to Fort William to do a stand-up gig. But at the top of the
I
country,
hear
if anyone's watching from Fort William, you know, if you're watching, you know who you guys are like. And I mean that in a nice way. I genuinely mean that in a nice way. Knowing my luck, my first gig back after COVID is going to be in Fort William, and I'm going to get the shit kicked
probably.
out of me for it. But the sport's growing more and more. And there's new generations. And what was that? I think you grabbed your first was sort of world championship junior one. Was that 2009?
Yes. Yeah. That
Right.
was 2009 in Canberra, Australia.
Wow. So how did it all?
Yeah,
Sort of
this
mess.
the sport is definitely growing, and excuse me. The likes of Europe is where I mainly race, so that's where all my big international stuff is.
Mm-hmm.
Um, New Zealand's just obviously a small part of it, but yeah, it's been pretty amazing to watch it grow, and especially I think with the whole pandemic happening, I think people have just really got into the outdoors and just figuring out like different sports. And I think mountain biking is definitely one of those things. And like I know that the industry is definitely booming
Yeah.
from the pandemic, which is amazing because it's just I think it's great to see that people are you know exploring and getting out of their comfort zone and trying different sports, and especially a sport like mountain biking because it's pretty, for a majority of people, it's pretty easy to go out and ride in the woods for an hour
Yeah.
and come home. It's something different than
Yeah.
going to the gym
But
every day or going running.
downhill mountain biking is intense. I mean, everything that I've got to watch, it's an intense sport, as to be said. How did it start for you? I mean, you're doing that in 2009. You're winning that first championship. Hang on, 11 years ago.
Yeah.
Just nearly over it. No, hang on. Yeah, nearly about 11 years ago. And you're what, in your late 20s, early 30s now, at best? How
Yeah,
old?
20. I'm 29. I just turned 29 the other day.
Oh, congratulations, dude. Congratulations. Um,
Yeah.
so when did you start? I mean, you've got to just doing the maths on that. When did this all start for you? Was it something you were into at school, or did you start off in another sport and sort of find your way into mountain biking?
Well, yeah, I mean, like from a young age, I've always ridden a bike.
Right.
So, biking to me started off very young, and my mum also is a postie, so she had ridden a bike for the past probably 27 years,
Right.
and she carried me until I think about I want to say like 6 or 7 months before I come out, and
Whoa.
so yeah, I guess like the whole biking was sort of put into me from then, and
That's crazy.
yeah, I mean, I played rugby from when I was about 4 or 5 years old right up until I was about 16, 17. So that was like the one sport that I played for a majority of my life, and one sport that I really wanted to
Right.
pursue a career in. And then, yeah, it was probably like 2000 and I want to say 2004, 5.
Right.
Um, yeah, I just met up with an old school friend that I hadn't seen in a long time, and at the time he was mountain biking, and yeah, I just started riding bikes around the streets with him, and then yeah, basically from there, that's where my mountain biking career kicked off, and
That's crazy.
yeah,
So
just done a bunch of stuff in New Zealand, from 2000 and probably, yeah, 2005 to about 2008 when my first time I headed overseas, and um, raced my first world champs and two World Cups. And yeah, from there, that's where my international career really started.
So was it ever when you were just biking with your friend? Was it just more of a hobby? Did you have designs on maybe doing it something, or when did it go from being a hobby, something fun you were enjoying with your friend, to being like, I really want to do this. I feel competitive about this. I want to do more of this. When did that shift happen for you?
Probably, probably when I got offered a small team for 2009 was really the yeah, the changing of my whole,
Yeah.
you know desire to become a professional mountain bike, because I guess at the time, like, all I was doing was just riding my bike and having fun, and yeah, I guess it became a reality when I got selected for Worlds in 2008, and I just thought, well, why not give this a crack and go over and have a shot at trying to make something out of this. And I never really knew that I would be able to make something out of it where I am today. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm pretty grateful for what opportunities that I've had and where it's got me today. And obviously I had you know mountain biking and rugby, and I was doing that pretty much every weekend. I would play rugby on a Saturday, and then leave in the afternoon to go to races around the North Island where I live. So I was kind
Yeah.
of juggling between like the two of what I wanted to do. And obviously, like, deep down, rugby was a big thing for me because I played it from a young age. But
Yeah.
I guess just the fact that mountain biking was also another important part of my life then. And I think, yeah, I'm pretty happy the path I chose and where I am today.
Yeah, so you were kind of having fun riding along the journey. Opportunities
Yeah,
were coming up, and you're like, well, "Let's go, man. Let's go."
yeah,
That's the most.
yeah. I was just jumping into it because obviously these opportunities don't come up
No.
twice. It's always a first opportunity, so you got to
Yeah.
make the most of it. And yeah, I guess, yeah, I jumped on a great opportunity, and
Yeah.
it's led me to you know 11 years down the track racing mountain bike still.
That's crazy. It's the most
Yeah,
keepy attitude I think I've ever heard as well. I just love it. Like, we'll see where things go, and they're doing all right. Let's just keep riding. I think that's
yeah.
awesome. It's awesome. So you start going over to Europe. How did you find the difference? Was there a big? I mean, obviously you were saying there was a big difference when you were over here, 6 weeks ago. But in terms of when you were coming over making those initial trips, was that the first time you'd left New Zealand, or had you, traveled abroad? Was it a real culture shock for you? Because there's a big difference between New Zealand and, say, like, Germany or elsewhere in Europe, or even coming here to, apart from the weather, coming here to Scotland. Was it a big change for you?
Yeah, it was definitely because the first year that I traveled to Europe, I traveled with my mum. So it was, like I think we spent maybe 4 or 5 weeks in Europe, and we come to
Right.
Scotland. We went to Andorra, and then Val di Sol for World Champs. So like, yeah, that was obviously a massive eye opener for me because, the fact that at the time we didn't have, I guess at the time there was GPSs, but
Right.
I don't think we had the money to afford one. So we were just using maps. So like, here's a 16-year-old kid trying to navigate my mum on the wrong side of the road, driving on the wrong side of the road compared to what we drive on.
Yeah, completely.
Um, so yeah, it was definitely a massive eye opener. And then obviously being with my mum, it was, you know, semi normal for me because, she, cooked my dinner and drove me everywhere and that sort of thing. And then 2009 was the second year I went to Europe, but I went to Europe and I spent 6 months there, and I was there um, in a place called Doganaccia, which is like, I want to say maybe 2-3 hours from Florence.
Right. Okay.
Basically in the middle of nowhere, like a ski resort, summer, not much people around.
Okay.
I was 17 at the time, and thrown in the deep end of, having to cook for myself, having to do all my washing, and, riding my bike every single day until I had a race, until the team come and pick me up. So
Oh God.
yeah, I think like that definitely, definitely opened my eyes up to, traveling abroad, by myself for 6 months. Well, not for 6 months, but, looking after myself with another teammate.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, and I think that really like, gave me the whole aspect of, appreciating what I'd been given. And,
Yeah.
obviously I wasn't going to complain because I'd been offered a ride in Europe and to race around Europe. So I was just, a 17-year-old loving life and being, free, no parents around, and just, living the dream.
When I was 17, I worked in Blockbuster Video. That sounds pretty amazing what you got up to. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I'm giving out people Chuck Norris videos. You're actually being Chuck Norris almost in a way, getting out there. Well, that's amazing. Getting out through Europe, having a good time. And the cool thing is that things are going well, because it's not like you're just there. And I hate saying this about any racers that would be watching this. You're just not there making up the numbers. You're clocking up victories. You're making headway with this, which
Yeah,
is, it's got to be a good feeling. I mean, obviously, we know that you hooked up with Braw at one point. You've moved
yeah.
on to other things now, which is awesome. Um, how was it when you started picking up wins? Because, like you say, you've got into it. It's fun. You're driven, but you're getting competitive, so you're having a great time. That's fulfilling you a lot. But then you start winning a world championship, which is a big thing, regardless if it was a junior, or it's a big deal. And then you start making some headway about it. How did that? What was that like for a guy just in his early 20s, or leaving his teens into his 20s? Because that's going to feel pretty good. Does that just make you want to do it more?
Yeah, definitely. I obviously spent that 6 months in Europe, and I raced a majority of the European World Cups, and then a heap of just Italian nationals and
Mm.
those small races. And I was winning races there, which, to me was massive. It was a big win. And obviously when I was racing World Cups at that time, I was racing against the likes of Danny Hart and Josh Bryson and Sam Dale. So those boys were on, pretty big teams. And
Yeah.
here I was on just a small Italian team. And, I wasn't really anywhere near those guys then, but, second year into my junior, my biggest competitor was obviously Danny Hart, and I really couldn't get anywhere near him in Europe and at the World Cups there, and at that time it was just juniors were mixed with elite, so like you were qualifying with the elite guys, so it didn't really matter
Right.
if you were the first junior, because we were mixed in with the elite. So I was always just so stoked to actually be able to qualify at a World Cup, not knowing where I placed in the juniors, because I was always just wanting to
Yeah.
qualify and obviously finish the race as well. And then obviously world champs in 2009, like Danny Hart and what's his name, Sean, an Aussie kid, Sean, I forget his last name, were definitely the favourites. And I went home probably 6 weeks before the world champs in Aussie, and at the time I didn't really know what sort of training I was doing, but I was just doing random stuff, and because the track had like a real flat section at the end, so I kind of knew that I had to be pretty fit to be able to pull something off. And and that day just worked out real perfect for me, and I ended up winning the rainbows, and beating a couple of dudes that were the favorites. And
Yeah.
no one really knew that I would become the world champion that day.
Oh man, that's wild. That's wild. Now,
Yeah.
in terms of what you do for downhill mountain biking, you have to stay in top physical shape. Any athlete needs to stay in. You never seen a guy in downhill mountain biking who's like a huge fat guy. You're never going to see it. Although it might be funny for 5 minutes, but it's going to look brutal the rest of the time. You
Yeah.
have to stay in top shape, so you're constantly training. Now, the reason I say that is because obviously we know back in, was it 20? I need to get my years right here. Was it 2018 you had the spill, the incident with the big rock? I think it would be fair to say. Was it 29? Was it 2019? 2019?
When I broke my back?
Yeah, was that 2019 or I got it wrong? It's 2018.
Nah, 2019. That was last year.
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, the fact that you were in top shape as well. I mean, talk us through that accident, because that would be what we know already. Spoiler alert: you're already back mountain biking, which is awesome. But I've seen the footage, and I've seen the still shot in particular, where all you can see is the rock taking up about 2/3 of the screen. It was a brutal one.
Yeah.
You're
Yeah.
having yourself, obviously, things are going well, you hit something like that. What was your reaction immediately to that injury? Was it like, right, I'm done, this is me, I'm not going to make it back? Or is it like, I got to fight through this?
Definitely not. Like being an athlete, you're pretty driven. So, I never thought once that I was not going to ride my bike again. Obviously, the seriousness of my injury, I knew that there could be a factor that I wasn't going to walk again, and I was ready to accept that, because obviously with my sport comes that sort of stuff, and it's a pretty dangerous
It's a high
sport.
risk sport, isn't it? I mean, it's
Yeah,
intense, it's high
yeah,
risk.
definitely. And I mean, from day one, like that day that my accident happened, obviously I just wanted to be off the hill and be examined, and know what was going on, because I knew it was pretty serious, and I knew
Mm.
that like there was probably going to be some serious side effects involved, and that I needed surgery. But yeah, I mean, from that day one, like that was my goal, was to be riding my bike again and racing, and I think that really drove me through the whole procedure of being back on my bike so quickly, and
Yeah.
let alone being back on my bike, but let alone racing again. And that was another huge achievement for me, because
Definitely.
at the end of the day, this is what I've done for the majority of my life, and
Yeah.
I'm not gonna give up and quit just because I fear that it's going to happen again, or
Yeah.
I don't have the mental strength and physical strength to be able to be at that top end again. And I feel like, from what I've done, I really feel like I can definitely be back, mixing with the top guys.
Well, I mean, that's amazing, because that was going to be one of my next questions. What was it like that first time you got back on the bike? Not even just the rehab from the injury, which itself is an intense thing to have to go through, but that very first time you get back on the bike, for you it was just like, this is just the start. We're going to keep going, because that's a work ethic you've had all the way back to school when you've been training with
Yeah.
rugby. So you've always stayed in good shape. You had no problems just getting back in the bike and going, I'm doing this.
No, nothing at all. Honestly, like I rode a bike for the first time. It was, I think, about 5 weeks post surgery, and
Whoa.
like literally I could ride a bike better than I could walk. So like, at that time it was telling me something. And to be honest, I never had any fear of riding my bike again. That was like, it was just the best thing in the world to be able to do what I love doing. And it, like I have so much more, I guess, like so much more respect and, more passion, and just like the fact that I enjoy riding my bike. Like if I was just able to ride my bike and, I wasn't able to compete again, I'd still be so happy with
Yeah.
what I would be doing, because as I said, I can still be able to ride my bike. But just I guess the biggest fear for me was just crashing again, like not knowing what that feeling was going to be like. And
Yeah.
like basically from when I first started riding my bike in the forest again to um, you know when I first, probably like 4 or 5 weeks into my trip in Europe, was like the first proper crash I actually had. Like I had small ones
Yeah.
here in New Zealand, but it was nothing to compare to what I'm used to. And I think that was the biggest thing for me, was just to get a crash out of the way, because
Yeah.
I just wanted to know and wanted to feel what that feeling was like again, because
Yeah.
obviously with a back injury, you just don't know with a crash how painful it's going to be. And um, the fact that I had a pretty huge crash, before I went racing, was such a massive weight I'd
Yeah.
taken off my shoulders.
Because it's a high impact sport as well. People don't give it that
Yeah,
credit. I mean, you hear about from rugby players to even pro wrestlers and even motocross stars, that first ding, because it's coming. There's going to be that first crash that you're going to have. You're just it's going to happen, and
yeah,
you don't really get that in pretty much any other sport. No one's ever going to worry about that in bowling, or or
throwing
even
darts.
or even driving, to a lesser extent. Like you're going to get a ding at some point, and it's you versus the ground, or you versus the rock. There's
Yeah,
nothing in between. So it's just a case of conquering that. I mean, it's clearly been something you've been comfortable with for a long time, but to
yep,
get back on it, it's like just overcome this fear and poof, hit it full
yeah.
tilt boogie.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, yeah, like you said before, the fear wasn't in riding my bike again. It was just, getting that first crash out of the way.
Yeah, yeah. That's to a layman like me, that sounds terrifying, but it's also sounds kind of
I
awesome.
was so I was so excited. Like that was like the best part of my day. Like, at that day, I felt like I was riding my bike the best I'd ever ridden.
All right. So you're
And
springing
like,
up, going, "I'm all right. I'm all right. I'm
yeah,
good."
like I was on the ground shaking my legs, like, shit, are these working? Because I went over the handlebars and landed on top of my head, and it kind of was a similar repeat to my crash where I did break my back. So like, yeah, it was a good feeling, and yeah, I stood up and I like, just was like, man, this is insane because nothing hurt, and yeah, got my first big crash out of the way.
Oh, I mean, it was meant to be. It was meant to be
Yeah.
getting back on. Right, got to talk to a couple of things just quickly. First of all, your relationship with JJ, with the Braw brand. I mean, obviously, like you say, we know you've moved on, but with Braw Beard, couldn't help but notice you. I believe you're like myself. You grow it and then you have to shave it off. You grow it and you shave it. It comes and
Yeah.
goes all the time. But how did you hook up with John? Did you meet him over here?
Yeah, I met him. Sure, this is going back a while back. This is probably, I want
About
to say, five, six
yeah,
years ago, maybe.
yeah, maybe about 2014,
Um,
maybe.
yeah, I think it was Fort William we met.
Right.
And yeah, I think at that time I just had grown like a massive beard, and obviously I hadn't intended to, but I did, and then yeah, he come and approached me and said, "Look, I've got this beard oil that
Yeah.
makes your beard lush, and doesn't give you the dry skin and all that sort of thing." And yeah, we worked together for, I think it was a good
I think it's about a
four
good
or five
4 or 5 years.
5 years. And that was awesome because John's such a good dude, and he was
Yeah.
mellow about everything, and he even did a collab with me, and we had like my own bottle, which
Yeah.
was cool. And
I think you had
yeah,
I think I've got a note here somewhere. I think you had three of them. You had like three of your own one in consecutive years or consecutive campaigns that you were on. It's
yeah, the different teams I was on. Yeah,
yeah,
he had done different bottles with the different team colors and bikes and stuff. So yeah, that was pretty awesome. And yeah, like the whole relationship was really cool because obviously him, and he's a pretty mellow dude.
yeah,
So like, yeah, we just kind of you know did our own thing, and when he wanted me to do something, I'd do that. And
yeah,
yeah, we had a good relationship, and
yeah. And
yeah, it
then
was
and then
it was
even
great
for
fun.
you, it leads on to other things, which is very exciting. We know you've worked with our pals at am I allowed to say them? I'll say them anyway. We know you worked with our pals at Red Bull and the
Yep.
cap as well, which is awesome. Which is awesome. I've got to ask you though about some of the races you've been in. I mean, it's always hard for an athlete to pick a match or a race or anything like that. But if you were to give me three of your favorites, not in any particular order, because I know it's kind of like trying to pick one of your kids you like best. But three of your favorites. What would be three of your favorite races? Do you think?
Um, Fort William is definitely one of them. Obviously, that was where I first, raced my first international race. So, that was definitely an eye opener for me because going there, having 25, 30,000 spectators, um, watching you is pretty amazing. So, like, that really gave me, the point of how big mountain biking was. Well, it is. And yeah, just the whole atmosphere there, the whole setup. Yeah, I've been obviously going there since 2008, and like the it's it's unique because like you get so much different weather conditions.
Mm.
It can be sunny one year, next year it can be pissing with rain and miserable and midges. So like, yeah, I think you get dealt with all elements there, and yeah, I just think the whole vibe and the fact that there's shows you just how much mountain bike fans there are, and having that atmosphere there is pretty amazing, especially when you come into that finish arena and there's 15,000 people at the bottom
Crazy.
cheering you on. It's a pretty good feeling. That would be definitely one of them. Mount St. Anne in Canada.
What was that one?
Mount St. Anne in Canada.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, that's another great venue.
They're very passionate about the sport over there as well. A lot like the Scots, the Canadians really love any form of sports. To be fair, but particularly mountain biking. Was that in a big finishing off in a big arena?
Yeah, obviously, majority of our races we finish in a decent size arena, but like the spectators in Canada compared to Fort William is definitely a lot smaller. It definitely has grown over the years. It just I guess it all depends the years. Like some years there is big crowds, some years there isn't. But that track there is pretty amazing. And then I guess probably maybe I want to say maybe Val di Sole, Italy. That's another great track, and the Italians are pretty big fans of mountain biking.
Are these ones you all want to revisit? Would we say? I mean, I know the world is still a little while away from opening up, and even though you've been back over here in Europe, do you think these are all ones you'd want to revisit?
Yeah, sure. I mean, our schedule doesn't change that much with venues. So like for the likes of Fort William and Mount St. Anne, I've been going there for the last, 11 or 10, 11 years. So
even during these times, it would be the same, would it?
Pardon?
Even during these times, it would be the same?
Probably not. Probably be a bit different.
Okay.
Obviously this year our schedule was a lot smaller than it had planned to be. There was a lot of races cancelled, so we only had world champs and 4 World Cups at 2 venues. So it was a lot smaller scale than it had been prepared for. But majority of years we pretty much go back to the same venues. There's either one or two venues that change. But like obviously we get used to going to the same venue every year, and it's it's pretty good because the venues that we do go to are pretty amazing.
That's cool. We've got hopefully all that to look forward to when everything the regular schedule kicks back in very soon, and we get to see you going out around those other places. The couple of questions, though, or the last question really, I guess I've got is particularly this. You started very young getting into the sport. Well, after a while via rugby. But if people were interested in getting into sport, because there's lots of young fans that are into it, what advice would you give to them? Because I think for some people, they're not exactly sure where to start. And I'm not saying, go to this guy, contact these teams or whatever it is. But if someone's just looking, maybe just to get the ball rolling, what little piece of advice could you give for them just to get things going so they can start their journey, if you like?
I guess probably entering in as many races as possible.
Right.
Is a big factor, because obviously the more races you enter and the more experience you're going to get, and the better your results can be or will be. Obviously is a big part of the journey, but I just think having fun is the main key, because I think like if you take it too serious, you're going to get to a point where you burn yourself out and you just don't enjoy it anymore. And I think I think that's what I feel like I see a lot of that happening. And there's a lot of parents out there that really push their kids into sport, and they put everything into it, and sometimes it doesn't pay off. And that's because I feel like the kids are being over pushed, and they get to the point where they actually don't enjoy doing the sport because they've just been so driven into it. And I feel that if you just go out and have fun and enjoy you know, the whole aspect of riding a bike and, you know, racing against friends. I feel like that will definitely get you a long way. And obviously at that, you know, teenage years, you know, you have, you know, other factors in life. You have the partying, you have the girls, you have all that sort of stuff. So I feel like, you know, you've got to balance that sort of stuff out. And,
Yeah.
you know, obviously to a point. And I feel like in my part of my journey and career, I really did that well. And, you know, obviously I got to experience that side of things, but then again, I know when to put my head down and work, obviously, because it's my full-time job. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think just, you know, just enjoy it and have as much fun as you can until that time comes of, you know, where you know, you get offered a team to go race in Europe, and things start becoming serious, and you know, you got to put your head down a lot more than before. So yeah, I think that's probably two main factors in potentially having a successful career.
So work hard, play hard, but just make sure you enjoy it.
Yeah,
I love it.
definitely
I love
work
it.
hard, play hard.
Brooke, this has been absolutely amazing. Thanks for taking the time to talk to us on broadcast. And from one Scotsman to another, kind of, we also got the McDonald there. So,
Yeah,
all
I've
got
got some Scottish blood in me.
oh, yes, baby. Oh, yes. So, I tell you what, Merry Christmas and have a cracking hog of a
Yeah, you
name when it
too.
comes as well. Cheers,
Thank you.
brother. Thank you.
See you, bro.
Brooke, that was amazing. Cheers, man. I will let you
No
go and get
worries.
on with your day, all right?
Yeah, have a good
Right.
night, man.
You too, dude. Talk to you later. Cheers. Bye.
See ya.